Hello again everyone, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we are going to be taking a look at REX Atmos, the recently released visual enhancement tool available for Microsoft Flight Simulator. The add-on purports to offer real-time comprehensive environmental enhancements, as well as being compatible with Active Sky, Microsoft Flight Simulator's live weather, saved weather presets, imported weather presets, and as well saved flights. REX Atmos allows for real-time rendering and full customization within the sim, with the add-on enabling the user to tailor the atmosphere, weather and visuals all at the click of a button. That is at least the promise anyway. We are of course going to be putting those claims to the test here during the video. For today's overview and demonstration, we are first going to be taking a look at the REX Atmos user interface, seeing how the program works and what exactly can be adjusted within the sim. We'll then carry out a quick flight around the local area with some side-by-side comparisons between default Microsoft Flight Simulator and the REX Atmos adjusted version of the sim. As we carry out the flight, we'll talk a little bit more about the program before finishing up the video with my overall conclusions on the product. As always, I do hope you enjoy the video and find it to be of use. If you do, then please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. And of course, if you would like to help support the channel further, you can do so by becoming a channel member or patron. Okay, so here we are then on the homepage of REX Atmos, and as you can see, we have a very nice, clean, tidy and easy to use UI available with the program. I've also just shrunk down the user interface slightly here for the sake of the video, just to make demonstrating the changes within the sim that much easier. From the homepage, we have access to the Weather Parameters tab, the Atmospheric Parameters tab, and as well the Environmental Parameters tab. We'll of course be taking a look at each of those in sequence in just a moment's time. We also have a list of the top 5 user-created presets currently available for the program, and we can quick load those into the sim. And lastly, we have a list here as well of the top 3 presets that we've currently used within the program. At the bottom of the UI, we have the home button that returns us to the home page. We have a duplication here of the weather, atmospheric and environmental tabs, all of the same functionality there, associated with those click buttons as the tabs up above. We have the reset push button, which, one nice feature of the program, all of the changes that we'll make here happen on the fly, immediately within the sim, so it's very easy to see what you're setting up. Really nice feature, and the reset button just returns the sim immediately to its default state. Lastly, for the settings page, nothing really worthy of note there. We have a list of FAQs for the program, and as well just a couple of user settings, but nothing that's worth covering off here in the video. So starting with the Weather Parameters tab, we'll click on Create Now. As you can see, we can create our own weather presets. We can also search for publicly available presets. One feature that is missing and would be nice to have, we can't currently order the presets, for example, in terms of popularity, number of downloads, date of creation. If we hit the Create tab, we can modify the live weather settings. Not currently running live weather here in the sim, but as you can see, for example, you can adjust the haze and the fog, which is definitely a nice feature to have. We can also adjust humidity, cloud softness, and the cloud visual enhancement. The visual cloud enhancement feature is probably one of the most significant features available with REX Atmos, and we'll take a look at that in just a moment's time. We also have the ability to import metas directly into the sim, so if we search, for example, for London Heathrow, Echo Golf Lima Lima, the program will search for that, bring up the current meta, and we can inject that straight into Microsoft Flight Simulator. Lastly as well, we have the ability to create our own custom presets. Nothing really worthy of note here particularly. This is basically the inbuilt sim weather creation functionality, but with a slightly more user-friendly UI. Again, worthy of note though is the visual cloud enhancement feature. As you can see, by adjusting that, the sim will be adjusted again on the fly, and that does have quite a big visual impact on the visual fidelity of the clouds within the sim. Personally, I quite enjoy the use of that setting overall. And again, we can just hit reset and return everything to default. I think the reason we have the 3 different weather options, or at least the 2 different weather options in the sim, live weather and custom weather are quite different beasts. You can't adjust one whilst adjusting the other. So REX Atmos allows for adjusting either or depending on which you're using at the time within the sim. Next, onto the atmospheric tab. So for the atmospheric settings, this is probably one of the biggest features of the program overall. Certainly this alongside environmentals are what you're going to be using most to create your look within Microsoft Flight Simulator. Starting with the lighting tab, I do find that some of the Atmos presets can darken up the sim a little bit, so you can use this to adjust things back to your liking. And as you can see, you can take things to extremes. And once again, just hit reset and everything will return to normal. Same as well with ambient lighting, that can be adjusted to your liking. Rally scattering refers to the light reflected off particles within the atmosphere, and that will have quite a dramatic effect on the visuals within Microsoft Flight Simulator. In terms of ozone, that can also be adjusted within the sim, and again very easily reset. One feature that I do think is currently missing with the UI, as you can see, no numbers associated with your slider position, so it does make accurate positioning a little bit more tricky. We can also adjust the sun angle within the sim, and as well sun flare. That slider not seeming to have too much impact. We can also adjust the general ambient colours of the sky, and as well individually adjust the ambient colours. These do have quite an extreme effect on the sim, and even just a small adjustment here, as you can see, really having some rather undesired effects, so I would say that these sliders are not particularly useful. Lastly, in terms of the environmentals tab, again we can publicly search for user created presets. As well, we can create our own. There's a terrain lighting feature, apparently experimental, that doesn't seem to work in all locations, and indeed doesn't seem to work in this location. Once again, we can adjust the overall tone of the scene within the sim. One useful feature here, Microsoft Flight Simulator does tend to have a slightly reddish hue to it even now. So we can just slightly adjust these settings, perhaps just adding a little bit more blue into the scene. We'll look at some presets later on, of course. We can also adjust the default tree color, so if you don't, for example, own REX Atmos season, you can give things a little bit more of an autumnal look. You can also green things up, and for whatever reason as well, you can also make things more blue, should you so wish. Again, we have the ability to just hit reset all, or we can hit the master reset button, and as discussed, everything will return to its default state in the program. So overall, certainly some nice features there in terms of customization. It might sound as though the tool is perhaps a little bit limited in terms of its functionality, but you'll see in just a moment's time, even some of these changes just added very subtly into the sim can have a very reasonable and positive impact on the visuals within Microsoft Flight Simulator. With that in mind then, I think the best thing to do, of course, is to take a flight. We'll just do a quick lap in the pits here around the area, and we'll run split screen, so default Microsoft Flight Simulator on the left, and the REX Atmos enhanced version of the sim displayed here on the right. So again, we'll just complete a quick lap here around the Monument Valley area, departing and arriving from Monument Valley Airport. As I say, we'll look at a side-by-side comparison here between default Microsoft Flight Simulator, of course, on the left, and the REX Atmos enhanced version of the sim here on the right. You'll notice in these particular examples that the differences can be quite subtle. I think to some degree, again, that is the nature of the beast with REX Atmos and Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. MSFS at this point in its life cycle is already, of course, looking very good and often very realistic, so really you're only going to need to make minor tweaks here and there to get the best out of the sim. In these particular examples, we're using a couple of user-downloaded presets, both for the atmospherics and as well the environmental conditions. I've also just ever so slightly shifted the lighting here in the sim, taking it towards more of a blue hue, again removing some of that red tint that we typically see in Microsoft Flight Simulator. You'll notice as well off in the distance a little bit more atmospheric scattering, and as well take a look at the vegetation here as we go. We've darkened that up a little bit as well within the sim. Our very short flight here today is going to be around 8 minutes in duration, and we'll be changing up the weather conditions as well here as we go. As we make our way around, I'll discuss as well here a few points of what I think regarding REX Atmos overall. Starting with the download itself, I downloaded the program from Just Flight's website. They're usually my preferred publisher. It is worth noting when I came to download REX Atmos that it was actually flagged up by my antivirus program. One of those downloads where you do have to quite fervently insist that you want to download the application. Nevertheless, once I had the program downloaded, it was a fairly easy installation process overall. Opening up REX Atmos for the first time, I did have some issues initially with the UI in terms of its scaling. It is worth noting as well, the program really doesn't like to work around Windows scaling options. One very simple fix for that would be to include a scroll bar as part of the UI so that you can scroll down. Currently though, as you've seen, that's not an option available with the tool. Generally speaking, again, I think the UI is very clean, very nice, very easy to use, very intuitive. It does have some weaknesses though. Once again, no values displayed on the sliders, so a little bit tricky to set things in an accurate state. As well, if you perhaps want to adjust something and then revert back to your previous setting, again, that's not going to be a very accurate process without previously known values. In terms of the strengths of REX Atmos, firstly, of course, again, the tool very easy to use. As I've demonstrated here, everything can be adjusted in real time, so very easy to see the changes that you're making within the sim. And again, also very easy to reset the sim to its default state with just the click of a button. I don't necessarily see myself using the weather functionality of the app all that much. Again, most of that functionality is available by default within Microsoft Flight Simulator. The Meta importer tool, though, certainly could be useful under certain conditions. Otherwise, though, the ability to adjust atmospheric parameters as well as environmental parameters is a nice feature set to have available within Microsoft Flight Simulator. REX Atmos makes this very easy to do, and I think for most people, just downloading a user preset is probably going to be the best way to go. If you do want to create your own profiles though, then indeed the amount of customization available with the tool is almost infinite. As we've already briefly discussed, at this point in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020's lifecycle, the sim is already looking really nice and arguably quite realistic. If though you're somebody that's planning on sticking with 2020 for the foreseeable future, then I think it's a nice tool to have. And also very much worth noting that the tool will apparently also be compatible with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. Another feature and perhaps benefit of using REX Atmos over something like Reshade or the NVIDIA game filters. REX Atmos, as again I've already demonstrated, directly influences the colour palette within the sim. So unlike Reshade or NVIDIA filters where you're going to be colorizing the whole scene on your monitor, instead here you can actually dial down certain aspects, again the ozone layer for example, the rally scattering, and essentially tweak individual components of the sim as opposed to blanket covering your entire scene here with a certain preset. That being said, for me, I personally probably still slightly prefer NVIDIA filters as an option, but there's certainly no reason why the two tools can't work in conjunction, and I'll probably tweak things further, play around with using both at a later date. In summary, REX Atmos is another nice tool from REX. They've certainly been finding their feet in the latter stages of Microsoft Flight Simulator's lifespan. REX AccuSeason is a very nice tool for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, and as well I think Atmos, again, a very good tool overall. Whether REX Atmos is an essential download for the sim really is down to user preference. Again, with modern sim visuals, I think we are rather hitting a wall of diminishing returns at this point. But once more, I do think that REX Atmos is a net positive for the sim. And once more, although many of the changes you'll probably be making are quite subtle, for as little as £10 to purchase, I do think you're getting decent value for money with the tool. So there you go, ladies and gents. I do hope you enjoyed our look at REX Atmos. Obviously, the tool offers quite a wide range of visual customization options available within Microsoft Flight Simulator. Whilst some of those changes again can be rather subtle, the possibilities, as I say, are nearly endless, and I do think that the program achieves what it sets out to do, i.e. it can certainly be used to improve the visual fidelity of the sim. Again, at this point, I do think that Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 looks very good for the most part, but given the price of REX Atmos and its supposed compatibility with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, overall I think the tool is still well worth a punt, especially for those who are planning on sticking with 2020, and as well certainly for those of you who aren't running an NVIDIA card or perhaps are running an older generation of an NVIDIA card and therefore not able to make use of NVIDIA game filters. Once again guys, I really hope you enjoyed the video and found it to be of use. If you did, please consider giving it a like. If you want to see more content from the channel, then please do consider subscribing as well. And once more, if you would like to help support the channel and my content further, you can do so by becoming a channel member or patron. I'll leave a link to both of those down in the video description below. As usual, a very big thank you to my channel members and patrons for all of your support. To all of you, I hope you are having a great day wherever you are. Take really good care, and I will see you all again soon.